Hello, hello, mis cielitos, and welcome back. Coco is here, and I will be continuing Raging Loop. As I mentioned in yesterday's stream, I'm a little under the weather, so don't know how long I'll be going today, but I'm very excited to get back to this, because, yeah, we left off on quite the cliffhanger, didn't we? Alrighty, let's see. I have my doubts about this. I don't know, I feel like we got to this conclusion too easily. I mean, I guess not. We did lose pretty much everyone, but I just feel this is a bit too simple of an answer. And maybe it could just be that the greater mystery is going to be how to break this curse and how much of the myth is real and how it all came to be, you know. I imagine there's going to be a lot of the myth that was forgotten and left out. And of course, there's the mystery of the whole time travel thing. I don't know. It just seems too much left unanswered. True, I really am a wolf. He spoke as if it wasn't a big deal. But you are misunderstanding a few things. But that just made it seem even more abnormal. We've already won. He tossed away the grass sickle. His voice wasn't nearly as passionate as before. It was cold and rational. I don't know why the audio just stops working all of a sudden on this game. Or the audio on the game doesn't stop, but for some reason this OBS just stops picking it up. There we go. He demonstrated a confidence rooted in sound logic. But I couldn't understand what he meant. Other wolf, please reveal yourself. What was the point of that? Are you sure, Yasukun? Yes, that's enough. Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, by process of elimination, yeah, but wouldn't have guessed her. I'm the other wolf. I couldn't make sense of this. Had he decided to graciously concede by selling out his partner now that he'd been cornered? No. He said he'd already won. Even if there were 2 wolves, there's 4 of us. They'd lose in votes. My answer came from a completely unexpected direction. Nichan. Nichan, you and Taibon really are the wolves. A shout of pure, unadulterated joy. Harumaki Shima became the least comprehensible of anyone present. She ran to Yasunuga Oribe and hugged him. He hesitated for a moment, but reciprocated. Mako, still as clueless as ever, slowly walked over to us.
Oni-chan.
I'm sorry. Hide behind Chiemi. Haruaki-san, what is this? I don't know. I really didn't. But I'd had a feeling that something wasn't quite right for a while now, and I suspected it'd be made clear now. I was certain of it, and it left me feeling uneasy. Oh wow, that's quite the devious expression, Haru. Okay, you have the initiative here. Can you explain? Haiba, you do it.
Fine, fine. I've been relying on you too much all this time.
He wasn't even denying it.
Chi-chan. Mako-chan.
Not me.
This is something I never told ya. A long, long time ago, when I was still a girl, Kami Fujiyoshi's people got drunk and revealed the truth behind the feast of the Yomi Purge.
Okay, yeah, just as we were saying earlier, there was a lot of details that were missing from this. Hello, Binks dear. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming. The truth. Hai Yamawaki told us a story that was very similar to the legend they told in this strange village. Well, it was less like it was similar, and more like I was looking at it from the opposite angle. The part about Great Lord Shinai sending the 5 guardians to help people was the same. 4 of them then teamed up with the humans to murder the wolves. However, in the real story, the good and bad sides were completely reversed. Apparently, the people and the 4 guardians joined Yomi on the very first feast of the Yomi Purge. Basically, all of them were Yomibito. They all ganged up on, overpowered, and exposed the wolves who tried to resist until the very end. That meant this land had belonged to the Yomibito for a long, long time. The wolves were summoned here by none other than Shinai-sama himself. Some people of Yasumisu were given the blessing of the wolves and had to free Yasumisu of its Yomibito. Basically, it was a holy war for them. And that was the truth behind the feast of the Yomi Purge. Tai Yamawaki continued her explanation.
At first, we thought the people of Kami Fujiyoshi just made it up to make fun of us. But we found out it was true when we became blessed by Shinai-sama himself. So you see, Chi-chan, that's why we had to slay everyone.
Still think that's too simple.
It hurt a lot, though. Takumi suffered greatly, too. But we had to do it to save the Yomibito.
Save the Yomibito?
That's what Shinai-sama said.
Save them? Tai Yamawaki was crying. Alright. So she was now a confirmed culprit who believed the murders to be salvation. There were just 2 more points I didn't understand. The corruption, and the eerie message. Most things made sense if you switched Shinai-sama's enemies and allies. The idea that people wearing those outfits could be the good guys was kind of weird, but, well, that was the culture here. Or maybe only the Yomibito, me too, saw them as evil. Maybe that was the story here. The problem here was that I didn't know that. Jamie didn't know this. I only found out when I was blessed. So even Yasunaga-kun didn't know about it. I remembered some of his words. This is just something I heard from a teacher at school, but you could do it by giving them something to fight for, couldn't you? Basically, you need to make them think that they're doing the right thing. He really hated lies, didn't he? He basically told me the truth of things. This feast actually had a system that made zealous murderers of people. Whatever. Enough about Yasunaga Oribe. Then why did Haru-chan know? She was glad when she realized Yasunaga Oribe was a wolf. Basically, she already knew the real story. The wolves were the good guys. Why? Who told her?
The Okami-sama told me. They showed up in my dreams on the day Oji-chan died and told me about it.
Nonsense. Insanity. Did she seriously decide to throw her life away over a dream? But on the day Oji-chan died, he died the night before Haru-chan tried to run away from the settlement. She believed the dream. She started to despair over being surrounded by Yomibito and planned to escape. That made sense.
But I did think that Taiba would know the real story. There was no way she couldn't. But she didn't say it, so I thought that maybe she was a wolf. And I began to think the same thing about Ni-chan when we talked.
It all clicked. She believed. She believed the sudden revelation, despite a lack of proof, and that the man she liked was in the minority that had justice on their side. And right now, she said she would betray the humans and join the wolves. She believed Yasunaga Oribe was right with all her heart. And so, the wolf, Yasunaga Oribe, had 3 votes for the feast. I can't be killed, even if Chieni and Meiko both vote for me. Even if you bend the rules and count Fusaishi's-san's vote, it'd still be just 3. You couldn't choose one even if we did a final vote. And now, without either wolf dying, we win. It was easy. I saw it clearly now. I understood. Haruaki-san.
Is he...
Yeah, Yasunaga-kun is right. No. We lose. Everyone had different reactions to my words. Chiemi backed away and gasped. Tai Yamawaki closed her eyes and sighed. Meiko didn't seem to understand anything. Yasunaga Oribe didn't react at all. Haru Makishima was smiling. Oh man. All I really had left was struggling like the filthy, annoying adult I was. Haru-chan.
What? Oh, Ni-chan. What will happen to Fusaichi-san?
I'll ignore him if he doesn't interfere.
I see.
She looks a little disappointed, or I don't know. I'm not sure how to read that expression. Was that relief just now? Sorry, but I couldn't enjoy my sudden jump in popularity. I don't know, that looks more like kind of ambivalence. They did have that bonding moment that was really sweet. And I guess her asking period does show some concern.
We don't have to slay him.
Shinai-sama will do something if need be. That dispassionate tone didn't do much to convince me he truly believed this ridiculous superstition. But you won't ignore this, will you? Are you enjoying this, Yasunaga? Who knows? Honestly, if you're the good guys, I don't know if I should help the Yomibito side. Haruaki-san! You're crueler than I thought. We city folk value a well-reasoned argument. I want to say I misjudged you. It's the right decision. Very right, in fact. Big words.
Hey, what the hell? You said you liked Chieni, didn't you? And now you're gonna abandon her?
Good point. Oh yeah, I was pretty damn cold-blooded. I'm not too fond of being hit where it hurts, so I guess I'll respond. Haru-chan.
What?
You know you're gonna die, right? You're okay with that?
Huh?
That was pretty damn bad, honestly. Apparently this great Lord Shinai was a huge scumbag. You should have told her that much. Even if you've been told the real story, you're still a human. You haven't even become a wolf, have you? You didn't kill Takumi-san or Nosato-san, right?
I didn't.
I don't know why, but you're just a human who knows the real story. That's why the human's defeat will mean your death. You said you thought Yasunaga-kun might have been a wolf when you talked together, right? I don't think he would ever let anything like that slip, so he probably realized your role from the way you were acting. He was probably trying to lead you by showing hints, but not revealing his identity, in order to test whether you'd join him. The wolves probably knew there was a human who had that role. What of it? He actually said that. This was the part where he was supposed to start lying. By not denying that, you basically admitted that you were an absolute scumbag who used Haru-chan knowing you'd have to kill her. Was he that bad at lying? And how did he survive so long? Wait. Something was very wrong. I'm seriously misunderstood something here. And soon enough, my hunch was proven right.
Seriously? What of it?
Haru-chan. Harumakishima's voice was brimming with joy. A carefree smile, laced with seductive intoxication.
Yomibito need to be hung. We're corrupt, filthy, and disgusting. We can only be saved by the wolves' whirls and claws. Everyone knows that. That's why you finish off Kaori-san, right? You wanted to make your mother happy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ni-chan, make me happy too.
Harumakishima coquettishly leaned on him. Yasunaga Oribe brought her closer, without even a flicker of emotion crossing his face. Tai Yamawaki watched them with a broad smile. What? What the hell? What were these people? So, Chieni, What will you do? If you listen to me, I'll save you. I underestimated it. I underestimated the madness of Yasumizu, and I realized too late. The Feast of the Yomi Purge wasn't just a system where zealous murderers killed each other. There was something here that completely shattered the people on a fundamental level. It was like a gear of madness. Those who knew the real story found salvation in death. That insane tale instantly convinced people that it was right to agree and to find peace in that. And I was actually surrounded by those very people. Understanding that made me remember. That she was from here too. Chiemi was trying to take a step forward. I should have realized this earlier. She, who was afraid of God, was just like them, who accepted their salvation. Both brands of madness probably had roots in the exact same thing, so she was just as susceptible to madness as they were. However, it wasn't too late for her. Yasunaga Oribe's expression stayed the same. But right before I looked away from him, I saw a slight change. It was bitterness, irritation, something out of place on a victor's face that made me realize that his plan for this scene wasn't lost to madness. Then I had no choice but to take advantage of the opportunity. I grabbed Jamie's hand. I pulled with so much force that she fell on her backside, but I didn't care. I dashed past her and swung my weapon at Yasunaga Oribe. I hit Haru Makishima once, Tai Yamawaki twice, and Yasunaga Oribe 5 or 6 times. Then I ran to Chiemi and Meiko, who were completely dumbfounded, and fled the hall. There was no time to waste. I had to hurry up and escape. If I didn't, I'd waste the one chance he'd given me. Haruaki-san! What are you doing? What's going on? Hey, Chiemi! What? Yasunaga-kun really has a good head on his shoulders, doesn't he? What are you talking about? My head hurts. I'll fall. I was probably irritated, and not just because of hunger. It was because of the epiphany I'd had, and because it had taken me so long to reach it. Yasunaga Oribe had a different motive. You have a crush on Shamie Serizawa, so you didn't want to hurt her, if no one else. So you used what little reason you still had to conclude that the only way to save her was through escape. But letting someone escape would be subjecting everyone else to corruption. So you had to have me beat up everyone and take her by force to avoid that. Shit! If he didn't intend to let me run away, he wouldn't have thrown away the sickle. He was basically signaling me to understand and finally attack him. In the end, he was far more clever than me. I never stopped dancing to his tune. Regardless of... No, exactly because of that, I had to help these two escape no matter what. After all, I'm an adult. By the way, using an adult without relying on one yourself is a very adult thing to do, Yasunaga Oribe. Good luck with the rest. We crossed the field paths, went past the stone graves, and over the boundary. Descending the cliff took a lot of patience. It didn't seem like they were chasing us, so we could go down carefully. Jamie's expression was dead. He'd been hit hard by a sudden revelation. The game board had been flipped on her. She'd lost, and now she had to suddenly say goodbye to her old friends. It was hard to just laugh that off. Should I have told her about Yasunaga-kun's intentions? I did consider it, but couldn't bring myself to. He chose to save her by sacrificing their relationship. If she knew, he'd probably want to go back to the settlement. Or maybe I just didn't want to say it because of my pride as a man. That was fine by me too. Being able to shrug off such unfairness was one of the blessings of adulthood. So I consoled Chiemi, shouted to Meiko to be more careful, and generally talked as much as I could. The mist grew even denser. Hey, Chiemi. But you gotta know how to properly monologue, Yasunaga. That's like lesson number 1 in being a villain. I think we're already outside the village.
Maybe.
We did it, and look, nothing happened.
We did it?
Yep, now let's cross the river and return to town.
Where's the river?
I couldn't see anything. I hadn't just lost my bearings. It was worse than that. I couldn't even see Chiemi or Meiko's faces, and I was actually holding their hands. We were already at the bottom of the cliff, walking on the stones below. We heard water, so it was clear we were close to the river. But I didn't know if we could keep going right now. Let's rest.
We can't.
Chiemi. I thought she was gonna freak out again, but...
No, that's not it.
She stopped me.
Don't you hear it? Ignore the water.
Confused, I strained my ears. What am I supposed to hear?
Woof, woof.
They're coming after us. They were acting strange. I strained my ears again. Was it above us? I could hear the faint sound of rustling leaves from the top of the cliff. We gotta run!
I'm tired.
Haruaki-san, take Meiko-chan! The intensity in Chiemi's voice made me take the situation seriously. What if the sound was just the wind, though? Was she jumping at shadows? But I would have been lying if I said I wasn't worried. After all, a question remained unanswered. And according to legend, this was their HQ. Wait, they were the good guys, right? Still, this wasn't a normal place. Had to get out of here ASAP. After a while, I was forced to recognize the anomaly. We couldn't reach the river. I ran along the riverbed. It should have been small, just a few meters wide. But even after 10 minutes of running, there was no sight of the river. We couldn't get anywhere. It was just like... Ringwanderung. A phenomenon where people wandering snowy peaks lose their sense of direction and just end up walking in circles. However, even if my sight was limited, how could anyone get lost on such a small riverbed? I could hear the stream right next to me. This felt so wrong. I was as good as blind. All I could trust were my ears, but that just made me realize how useless that was to rely on. I trusted my sense of direction less with every passing second. So, the sounds of parting grass in the distance, the sound of claws stepping on the rocks. I felt like they were getting closer. I couldn't be certain. Eventually, we slowed down. The others didn't say anything, but they were clearly exhausted. We hadn't eaten for days. Not to mention the dense mist made our clothes all uncomfortably damp and cold. We walked along the riverbed without uttering a single word. The sound of water wasn't getting closer, but something else sure was. Something. Things I didn't know scared me. The chill and the fear strangled me like Garrett as I carried Mako, passed out from exhaustion on my back. How long has it been like this? Suddenly, the hand I was dragging became heavier. Chiemi had stopped. Haruaki-san. She called my name through the mist. What? I tried to sound lighthearted, but I wasn't confident I pulled it off. We're done for. Her voice suggested the image of a grim smile. What are you saying? And like before, I couldn't manage the defiant tone I'd used whenever she'd said something stupid. It was true that something unnatural was happening, and that there was no simple explanation. And Chiemi was wearing down both physically and emotionally. Let's rest a bit. We'll get through this if we just go a bit farther. Don't worry. No. It's impossible. Why? I think you can't get past this river as long as I'm with you. What? That was like... You heard what they said. We're the Yomibito. So you're not worthy of crossing or something? I mean, I've been eating Yasumisu's food since I was a little girl. And I'm corrupted. Chiemi! Don't look at me! I turned around and pulled her by the arm. What is her, oh my gosh, her face? I looked at her face from point-blank range. It was covered in brown and yellow blisters. Or I could even be surprised or disgusted. I just kissed her. The sugary taste of blood, pus, and rust filled my mouth and spread throughout my throat. I didn't care. Ugh. Damn. Damn. I don't know if I would be able to not care about something like that. So I guess I gotta give him kudos. Then, to discard all unnecessary emotions, I hugged her as hard as I could. My breathing and thoughts ceased. I kept it up until the pain began to fade, then disappeared completely. Eventually, our lips were separated again. She prioritized words over breath. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Even so, I hugged her tight. I couldn't lose to something so ridiculous. She weakly hugged me back, but she couldn't keep it up for long. Let's go. I'm telling you, let's go. The presence in the distance was definitely closing in. We walked. I felt like I'd been walking for several hours now. Our pursuers were close now, but I had no intention of rushing. Jamie was slowly, but surely getting weaker by the second. Her speed slackened with each step, and the weight on my arm was becoming heavier. I could hear her cough and vomit something out. She apologized every time she did, and I basically replied with, "It's all right," using different words every time. We walked. Jamie's feet began to make wet sounds with every step. We walked. Maybe we'd actually been here for only a few minutes. We walked. Jamie kept apologizing. Maybe we haven't even moved a single meter. We walked. Maybe none of this was real. Then, maybe nothing that happened here would be weird. Eventually, Jamie called out to me with a hoarse voice.
Arwaki-san.
The fact that she said something different had sparked a moment of baseless hope. And so...
Thank you.
Her gratitude was followed by another wet sound.
I had fun.
With those final words, her weight vanished. It was strange. After all, I was still holding her hand. Or rather, only her hand. With a splash, her bodily fluids spread around, while her limbs and entrails just collapsed. Jamie was gone, even behind only her rotting hand. Perhaps her remains were piling up in the mist ahead. I had a strange certainty I couldn't touch it ever again. Was this what they called a yomibito? I couldn't accept this, no matter what.
I don't care what. Take a part of me outside.
I put the hand in my jacket pocket. I took Mako, still sleeping, and shifted my grip to make carrying her easier. I continued walking for too long. Mako woke up. She was shocked that Jamie was gone and cried for a bit, but then she said she wanted to walk by herself, so I put her down on the ground. The very next moment, she was dragged into the mist. It was clearly a malicious force that did that. To me, it looked like a furry arm. A scream resounded. It was an inhuman, animalistic scream. After hesitating for a moment, I turned to run and caught a glimpse of something beastly within the mist Mako had disappeared into. I ran. And ran. Suddenly, I felt myself step into something wet. I had arrived at the river. It was meaningless. I'd lost everything. And in the end, only I survived.
I don't care what. Take a part of me outside.
Was there any meaning in fulfilling that promise? No. The meaning was for me to find. That was why I had to survive and find a forest. Yeah. I still had that hope back then. Uh-oh. They finally broke through the mist and showed themselves. Oh. Of course. This really was hell, wasn't it? This wasn't the human realm or nirvana. It was a river of hell, so of course both sides of it were gonna be hell. There was no splash when we threw Takumi-san's body in, was there? The moment we went into the mist and down the cliff, our bodies vanished from the world and reached a place from which there was no return. And I finally had no choice but to accept it. As someone who had taken in the flesh and blood of a Yomibito, Chiemi, I couldn't escape either. That was why I screamed stupidly, only managing to run a few steps before their sinister claws tore me apart. Damn it. Where had I gone wrong? Sending into Saranaga? Not believing Chiemi when she told me we couldn't escape. No, it went back even earlier than that. I already knew the answer. Not participating in the feast. Ugh, shit. I really wish I'd been part of Yasumisu and participated in the feast of the Yomi Purge. Maybe I could have gotten a different ending than this. That was the last thought that went through my mind before awe faded away. Hey, a proper ending! Yeah, I had a feeling he wasn't gonna be able to leave after kissing her, especially with that description. Officer's wife, what? But yeah, I still don't quite. Still not the full story. Because just saying that sides are reversed doesn't really explain much in the way of I mean, honestly, it brings up more questions. If this was about, oh, but they did eat. I was gonna say, this brings up questions about why the reporter and photographer, prepare yourself for the next feast, were also killed, but I guess they did eat. But it's also like, if Kami Fujiyoshi is aware of the real story, Raging Lope? Whirls and Claws? So one idea I did have is that Kami Fujiyoshi was aware of this, and the reason they were sending people, since everyone who was sent there was somehow someone that they ostracized, whether because they committed a crime or they just were seen as undesirable in some way because of narrow-minded thinking. So I guess that could still be, and you know, they were just thinking, eventually they're going to die this way. But that also doesn't seem very effective, considering how little this seems to occur. Because as far as I'm aware, uh-oh, did my avatar freeze? It's just dead. Uh-oh. I guess it got taken by uh the wolves as well. The corruption as well. Uh, there we go. God, okay, what was I in the middle of saying? Yes. Cause as far as Taeba said, this has never happened in her lifetime. So if Kami Fujiyosha wanted this as a way of getting rid of undesirables without getting their own hands dirty, it's not particularly effective. Hmm. Guess we shall just see. Obtained key 4, Sink into Nirvana. You can view it in the keys list. The route unlocked by this key is represented by the same number in the scenario chart. I think wasn't ending number 1. Nah. I mean, I don't know, maybe they say I don't know, it just feels so I don't know what the hint corners could really give that isn't overt, because it's just, at least so far, it has just been pick that other option. So let's see. Here we go. Oh, 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 oh. Uh-huh. Interesting. Wait, wait. Hold on a second. Is the no. Yes, it was a broken neck. They didn't even bother with her claws. They just went. So okay, if the thing we can we see this? No. Hmm. Suddenly, a rush of memories flooded into my mind. Is the oh my right? How did I forget? I'd already experienced this looping phenomenon or whatever. Uh, okay, so if the thing that he refused to remember was that he's already been through all this once. Nah, that doesn't make sense. Gosh, I need to. All right, one sec. I don't know if it's because this is gonna mess up, but I kind of actually want to go back further just to see the context of this. I'd already experienced this looping phenomenon or whatever. Hold on. Looping? What the hell? There was no way something like that could. But if that wasn't it, what else could explain this? How else could I, someone who died once, be alive right now? Well, more than once, buddy. Because I was determined to get all of those out of the way first. I had clear memories of getting caught up in some strange incident at Yatsumisu and, shit. I couldn't remember how it ended. It was like this last time, too. My memories were all fragmented. But I did remember that I went to Yasumisu, met the people there, and died. Oh yeah, I don't... It's not that I think there's something further back that we can deviate from. And I'm pretty sure this is wrong. It's just that I'm not sure if I'm remembering things in the right order. But I wanted to know the context of what he had been thinking before we got this option. Because for a second my brain was just like, is the girlfriend that he's been thinking about all this time actually Chiemi? But that wouldn't make sense because the whole reason, at least what it has implied so far, that he went on this trip to begin with was because of his girlfriend. Unless he had already started having sort of... Yeah, that doesn't make sense. And died. Had I come back here when... or because... I died? That was a ridiculous idea, but the pain and fear I felt back then was just so vivid and fresh in my mind that I couldn't simply dismiss it as just a dream or illusion. There was no point in lying to myself. I was here, having experienced something that made me sure I'd died. It was an incomplete memory from the future. I had no idea why I had it, but I definitely did. I had to come to terms with it first and foremost. The gas tank wasn't empty, but my phone couldn't find the signal and was running out of battery, and my throat was a bit dry, exactly like last time. That meant that I was about to arrive at... Fresh mark! Knew it. And yeah, we're getting back to the attendant. And there was a little bit of time in which I was like, they gave this person a talk sprite, so they're gonna have to be very important. And maybe that's still the case, but then I started thinking, well, maybe they're not, because they also gave the reporter and the photographer talk sprites, and it seems like they just existed in order to raise the stakes. But I don't know, maybe there's a way we can save them too. I really didn't want to meet that employee again, but from what I'd experienced, she was the only one I'd met before going to Fujiyoshi, so avoiding her was probably not a great idea. Her attitude was shit, but at least she always did what I asked. Though I really didn't want to drive down that unpaved road again. Hey. Once again, she greeted her customer in a borderline insane way. What is insane about that? That's quite the word to use. Like, maybe it's dismissive or inattentive, but whatever. It must suck having to work this shift out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. I'd be terrified of doing that. Oh no, even just thinking about that, absolutely not. It actually made me kind of relieved, and I wanted to believe that was just some trick of the mind. It was just like before. To her, I was just an annoying late-night customer. Oh well, I'd just buy what I wanted. I'll take these. Huh? Why are you getting so much crap? No reason. Yasumisa was just desperately poor and it had me worried. What was her problem? I was the customer. With this much stuff, she had to use the register. Still grumbling, she started scanning the barcodes. Once she was done, I paid and asked, I want to get to the nearest settlement. Do you have a map I could look at? Huh. No, we don't. Please? I need it. Just wait. Ooh, excuse me. She went through the staff door. Oh. Did we get a close-up of her last time? I think we did get a little bit closer, but her, like, eyes were still somewhat shielded. I knew it. And this here's the store. Go to the north of the crossroads. Mm-hmm. You'll find an overpass soon enough. Cross it. When you come to a fork next to a giant boulder, turn right and head straight. But that's just a forest, isn't it? I knew that it was. There wasn't even a paved road there. Why'd she recommend that road anyway? If I'd crashed and died, it'd be homicide by negligence. There's a settlement. It's just not on the map. That wasn't a lie. It wasn't weird for Yasumisu to not be on the map. It was a nearly abandoned settlement in the middle of nowhere. Why did she know about it? Did she live in Kamifujiyoshi or something? That sounds like it'd be bad for my bike. What about this place, Fujiyoshi? That's a 2-hour drive through a shitty mountain pass. Can I write that down? Sure. Where's the other closest town? Past 2 mountains. Man, I couldn't make any sense of the local distance measurements. I don't recommend going loud around these parts at night. Oh? Actual consideration? It was hard to be grateful. She was the one who pointed me in the direction of that shitty road in the first place. Turning back takes courage too. Turning back, huh? I'll think about it. Thank you. Thanks for coming or whatever. Oh, by the way, got any interesting local drinks? I didn't see any in the drink aisle. Well, then we don't have any. I just thought you might have something in the back. Like hell we would. Could you at least check? Just wait. Found it. Seriously? She brought me a 500cc bottle with a black liquid inside. The label looked written by hand and said, Wild Plant Cola. I expected nothing and got something huge. This place was amazing. Oh, sorry, but I got quite a lot of stuff. You have a rubber rope I could hang on my bike to hold it all. This ain't a hardware store. I'd be happy if you looked. Just wait. Found it. Seriously? Well, since we've come this far, I have a list here. Think you can see if you have anything on it. What the hell? You got a death wish or something? Are you saying you'd kill me? Please, I just want you to have a look. Wait. Here. Thanks. We had it all. What the hell is this place? Oh. It felt like she was about to kill me, but I successfully came out with pretty much all I needed. Then I just made a run for it. I opened up the weird plant cola. Looking up at the noisy light trap above, I took a sip. It was cool, intense, and had a strange grassy flavor, but it wasn't too bad at all. I expected something totally gross, but it was actually a legit drink. Slightly disappointed, I looked at the ingredients. Cola and plant extract? Hold on. Cola as an ingredient? Did they just buy cola and mix it in? And plant extract could be anything from fruits to poisonous plants. What the hell? Was this even safe to drink? Well, at least it tasted good. And there are worse ways to die. I know. Honestly, Haruaki, yeah, I was just gonna say, I would not be going back if I were you. I'd just be like, I've been giving another chance. Fuck this. It was probably smart to just turn around and drive away. Entering Fujiyoshi means death. Turn back. Perhaps that was what the loops were trying to tell me. Maybe I had to listen. But was it really that easy? I had no real grounds for this, but if the cause of this strange phenomenon was somewhere in the village, perhaps I couldn't break out of the loop until I solved the mystery behind it. What would happen if I left then? Would I go on and live out the rest of my days only to die and come back here? That's... Oh god, that would fucking... Ugh. That would suck even worse than, yeah, going back to the village. You know, I hadn't even, like, considered that. Would I return to youth after years of being old? That part didn't sound half bad, actually, but was it really something I could just accept so easily? That part sounds terrible to me. This was just speculation. But what if I actually hadn't moved an inch from that mountain pass? Was everything from then, now, and until death just an antemortem fever dream, and dying again would just bring me back here? If that was how it was, everything I do with my life from this point onward would be meaningless. Exactly. Maybe I really should move on only after taking care of whatever was binding me. Also, how could I leave something so strange, unnatural, and incomprehensible and just return to the city? Oh. Well, you know what? This is save time. So obviously, turn back is going to lead to a dead end. So let's just get this one out of the way. Until I'd finished my drink, the thing guiding me was my good sense, otherwise known as opportunism. Man, what a weird experience that was. It'd make a good campfire story once I made it back where I belonged. I pushed aside my sense that something wasn't right, my anxiety, and my fear, and straddled the seat of my bike. Well, there was another way to look at this. I could try and see whether ignoring it all and running away would actually work. After all, this might end up being the only way to solve the problem. I turned the key, opened the throttle, pushed a signal to the left, and connected the clutch. Away I went, starting with a left turn. Anyway, I'd go back up the mountain path. I'd had enough of this ride. I'd return to civilization, eat some normal food, get some decent sleep, and live my boring everyday life. Just recognizing how precious those things were was more than enough for me. That made this trip all worth it. A dense mist drifted into view. It came after us. Okay, I didn't think it was gonna be that quick. My dude, you didn't think to slow down when the mist started coming in? Alright, yeah, let me just quickly see what was being said beforehand. Uh, Oh, it just immediately. Okay. Damn it. Hold on a sec. Oh, it didn't. Oh, there we go. Alright, we'll pass by. I feel like this is just gonna give us a very similar ending with the mists coming in. But we'll see. Yeah, it's pretty much saying that. As I finished my drink, the idea I had was barely different from just turning around and leaving. Maybe I could just pass it by. I was curious what would happen if I ignored Yasumisu, Fujiyoshi, and the clerk's warning, and simply drove on past. Wait, why would anything happen? I'd just continue down the road, right? Why did I feel so uneasy then? After thinking for a moment, I'd arrived at the mindset of eliminating whatever options seemed wrong. My guess was that this wouldn't take care of the root of the problem. But I was the type who couldn't believe that until I tried it myself, getting caught out here. I turned the key, opened the throttle, pushed the signal to the left, and connected the clutch. Away I went, starting with a right turn. The tense mountain path continued for a while. Or maybe we're just gonna drive off the side of the mountain. I didn't feel like falling asleep. I was definitely becoming more and more exhausted, both mentally and physically. Even in this jacket, the force of the wind going by was doing a number on my body, especially as I kept onward for over an hour. I did, however, see a sign above my head that said, Fujiyoshi. As I decided, I just passed it by, never coming close to Kami Fujiyoshi or Yasumisu. Now, I'd just passed the two mountains and reached the town I was told about. Perhaps I should have been more suspicious of the fact that I'd stopped acting on my heart after that. Maybe I was just so tired I couldn't even make such decisions. I could only remember noticing a strangely dense mist surrounding me. But that was when my brain lost all capacity for perception or judgment. Whee! That sheep's just staying in the fucking hint corner being, what are you doing? Ain't even stopping by to say hi. Maybe you need me. Enter Fujiyoshi through the normal route. As I finished my drink, I made my decision. I'd return there. I'd face that tragedy again. Of course, I was curious about this looping phenomenon. But I did recall what I'd thought during my final moments. It was something like, if only I'd handled this better. And for better or worse, this weird looping phenomenon had given me a chance to do just that. If I went about it all a bit better, perhaps I could get a better ending. Hisaku Mamiya, Yudai Hashimoto. Kanzo Makishima, Yoshitsugo Oribe, Takumi Muro. The old man who cried wolf. Well, I bet when we finally learn your name, it's gonna be like some big revelation. It's gonna be So important. Shikamochi Kamoshida. Rikako Uematsu. Kaori Oribe. Yonosuke no Sato. Meiko. Hell, even Yasunaga Oribe, Tai Yamawaki, and Harumaki Shima were just victims of some strange superstition. Maybe... I don't know. It's weird to me that he calls it superstition, and I don't know if maybe this is just because a regional thing. But to me, superstition has the implication of it being something incorrect or foolish. Let me quickly look that up. It could be that it is just a excessively credulous belief and reverence for supernatural beings. I mean, yeah. It says widely held but unjustified belief in supernatural causation. So it's weird to me that he's using that term, even now. But I, Haruaki Fusaishi, could not delude myself. I was no hero, had no powers, no convictions. I was just a dilettante. My only motivation here was a sense of perfectionism. I was annoyed at how many mistakes I'd made in the first time around. Plus, there was a certain attraction I felt towards the unknown. It was an urge foundational to my being, and I'd be risking my life on its behalf. I wasn't about to pretend I was acting for the sake of others here. Although... Shiemi Serisawa. Though she hated her childhood home, it remained part of who she was, and I wanted to keep that from being tarnished with blood. That motive was perverse, forceful, selfish, lustful, and filthy. And I couldn't let myself forget any of that. I remembered the names of those I'd meet, and what I had to do. I turned the key, opened the throttle, pushed the signal to the left, and connected the clutch. Away I went, starting with a right turn. You'll find an overpass soon enough. Cross it. When you come to the next fork to a giant boulder, turn right and head straight. I quickly came across it. I could clearly remember this overpass. The large boulder wasn't new to me either, but I wouldn't take that route this time. I just kept on driving, not lowering my speed for a moment. Full speed ahead. I drove on the winding mountain path. Strangely enough, my fatigue, though present, wasn't too bad, and my head was perfectly clear. I knew which route to take without even looking at my copy of the map. Or maybe I'd driven through here before. Perhaps this wasn't the first choice I'd made, but one of many. I couldn't be sure, and since my memories were so incomplete, nothing was certain. Still, they'd be an asset in the fight ahead. I wasn't going into this unarmed. I could no longer see the moon. If those memories held true, the rain would begin soon. I drove into darkness, but I could still make out a sign above me. The road wasn't wide, but I decelerated and somehow managed a U-turn. There were no other cars, so no one would complain. I returned and looked at the sign. It said that driving ahead would have led me to Kachihara, while by turning right, I'd find myself in Fujiyoshi. Finally. It was already past midnight, but actually earlier than I'd thought. A 30-minute drive from this point would lead me to Fujiyoshi, or rather, Kami Fujiyoshi, a place that wasn't too popular among Yasumisu's people. Oh, damn. You're gonna need a lot for that. enter village. Huh. A house. My time estimate was more or less right. After 30 or so minutes, I began seeing houses between the hills and the trees. I eventually left the forest and could see as well as anyone could in the middle of the night. It was already raining, and I knew it'd only get worse. I had to do something before that happened. There were next to no city lights, and not a single house I could see was lit up either. However, unlike Yasumisu, the destitute place where most of the houses had been built from wood, the houses here were modern. The road was well paved too. I could even see some bus stops and vending machines, emphasizing that this was modern Japan. Even if they have an inn or something, I doubt they'd accept someone barging in so late. Some would think there was a way for me to at least get a roof over my head, but I knew that was just a silly city dweller misconception. Same went for the idea that rural folk were nice enough to let you stay if you just asked nicely. That was just pure delusion. In actuality, rural areas were subject to local legends and traditions, with many of the residents believing good, peaceful lives were only possible thanks to their protection. Of course, that wasn't always wrong, but that was also the reason why many rural people were so cold to outsiders. Hell, this was a village so behind the times it still had a settlement for the ostracized, which they discriminated against so badly. This place was probably even more insular than your average rural village. They wouldn't take kindly to an outsider like me, and would probably be wary the entire time I stayed here. I could only imagine how strongly they'd react if some brown-haired man suddenly drove in on a bike and... "Hey, what are you doing? Stop right there! Get off and come with me!" Oh, there was the officer we saw in the... in the credits. Was I some sort of idiot? Like the city boy I was, I just went into there thinking it'd all just work out. And now I'd caught the attention of a police officer. Well, I doubted he'd arrest me or anything, but the fact that there was some weirdo who invaded the village in the middle of the night would spread among the people here in less than a day. Now I'd be treated like a criminal if I wanted to talk to anyone here. The officer looked middle-aged, but what stood out about him was the fact that he seemed like the most generic meathead old man from the countryside. He told me to sit down here and wait until he came back. I could only imagine the chewing out I was in for. Still, I was pretty sure that passing Kami Fujiyoshi was one of the main conditions here. I could clearly remember. I had memories of this. Hisako Mamiya and Yudai Hashimoto came there through the normal route, and they weren't considered a problem. They'd died on the first day of the feast, but that wasn't because they were outsiders. They'd just violated the feast's rules. They either hadn't cleansed themselves, sheltered all alone, or dreamed. My assumption was that, before it all happened, they stayed at an inn in Kami Fujiyoshi. They'd only come to Yasumisu on the day for the sake of an article. Unfortunately for them, the mist came and the landslide happened, making it impossible for them to get back to Kami Fujiyoshi by car. Then everyone started sheltering, and no one came to help them. Forget the outsider. Old man Kanzo and I'll check the other places. Stop wasting time and go back to yours. Yeah, even Takumi-san had tried to cut me off because I was an outsider. Giving me a way to survive, however improvised, was probably a huge risk for Chiemi. I had to keep that in mind. Back to the journalists, though. They'd ended up abandoned in the village plaza, clueless about what was happening. What had they done then? They'd obviously chosen to spend the night in the van. I had no idea how Hashimoto-shi and Mamiya-san fit in there together, but since they hadn't slept alone, they'd broken the shelter rule. Hell, I wasn't sure if the van was a valid source of shelter to begin with, even if locked. That was probably why Hashimoto-shi's body was found with the van. And since Hisako Mamiya had probably roamed around at night, she'd broken the dream rule. I had no idea why she'd gone outside, but it could have been something simple, such as nature calling, or a search for a better place to sleep. Of course, as a journalist, she might have smelled a scoop in this ominous village and gone out to gather info. Not to mention, they couldn't have taken a bath in their situation, so they obviously hadn't cleansed themselves. And so she died at the hands of that thing. Now, about what happened to me. I'd died once after leaving the outdoor toilet. Dying because I'd gone outside was understandable, but honestly, I wasn't sure if that toilet even counted as inside. I bet that it didn't. And of course, I hadn't bathed or slept, so I broke all the rules. And yet I'd survived. What had made my situation different then? It was either I'd been found by that thing or not. It was whether I'd been found by that thing or not. Upon seeing me, it recognized me as a rule breaker and executed me. But when it hadn't found me, I survived despite breaking all the rules. That meant that the sheltering law was simply a method meant to keep the werewolf-like thing from finding you. The time I'd survived, it tried to force its way in, but failed. Nothing had happened to me because I was locked in, but if the lock was broken or something, I'd have been found and killed easily. Basically, you could avoid the monster by just properly locking yourself in somewhere. Meiko was proof of that. She was a lost child who'd come up from the hated Saranaga, but she'd survived all the way up to the end without succumbing to the corruption. That meant the important thing there was to get a lockable residence in Yasumisu with a bath. And that was exactly why arriving via the normal route was necessary. If I'd come from Saranaga again, most of the inhabitants would treat me with distrust and discuss driving me away. But if I was a person who arrived through Kamifujiyoshi for whatever reason, they'd be willing to accommodate. Or a little more. I mean, they didn't really accommodate the other two. Meiko was probably only giving a place because she was so young and because Rikako Uematsu had protected her. I couldn't expect similar treatment. Rikako Uematsu preemptively gave a house to Meiko, to a small child like her. That made it seem like she knew the mist and the feast would come. I'd think more on that later, though. It could be that she'd given her a key right after the mist came. Anyway, if I could be like Meiko and get a proper place I could stay in, I'd have the right to participate in the feast of the Yomi Purge. I'd be able to listen to the talks myself, instead of relying on Chiemi, and be able to contribute my own thoughts. I'd also learn much more about the feast. That'd mean a lot, considering that some people there, especially the elders, wouldn't want to talk about Yasumisu's problems to those outside the feast. A part of me wanted to avoid another tragedy, but the part of me that wanted to find out what was behind this mystery was equally strong. I don't know, I mean, I get having a sense of curiosity, but all of those deaths must have been incredibly painful, and I'm just shocked that he's like, yeah, I'm not even thinking about that at all, weighing it against wanting to figure this mystery out. That monster, and the thing that followed me to still be here, this looping phenomenon, were the main mysteries here. Though I did have some questions about the monster. It hadn't found me when I locked myself in the toilet. It was probably just curious why it was locked. Couldn't a monster with a wolf head just track me by scent? Why did it half-ass the job? Maybe, maybe the smell. I mean, you were locked in a little tree. Maybe it was like, oh god, all right, this smells just too much for me. Why did it have? I mean, I know that's not the reason, but it'd be funny if that's what it was. Why did it half-ass the job? Its failure to eliminate me only made the inhabitants more suspicious of me. Yeah, he's a very weird guy. There are some words he has used to describe himself that have made me really side-eye this guy. And his background, like his weird quasi-forensics but not forensics knowledge, how he barely bats an eye at corpses. It's like, Haruaki, I think you might be just... No, you are just as much a mystery as those other two things. There were no feast laws regarding outsiders. That was why it was best for us to just not be present. Looking at the current laws, those who didn't have a place to stay were outsiders, and they had to be removed because of that. This system worked fine for the most part, but then there was me, a proper preach. If that monster meted out the corruption, it was on the side of Great Lord Shinai. As such, it would have used some divine powers or whatever to address the problem. Also, it seemed to me like they had the power to unlock doors. Man, this was getting confusing. Last time, the wolves were Yasunaga Oribe and Tai Yamawaki. According to legend, they had been replaced by wolves who'd come back from the dead, but their story was completely different. They said they were normal people who had wolves as their guardians. That meant that the thing couldn't have been Yasunaga-kun or Tai-san. It was more like an agent of the same side as whatever granted them their powers. I had no idea why they were granting the protection of the guardians, but from what I could tell, guardians were like fragments of divine power. And if you were on the same side as the one who granted those powers, couldn't you just use the unlocking power whenever you wanted? Why would a supernatural being make such a careless mistake? Any assumptions made beyond this point would just be grasping at straws and bias my observations. I'd just stop here for now. Anyway, it was imperative I got myself a place to stay. What was I doing here anyway? I'd been theorizing about this and that for almost half an hour now. Dawn was close. I only had a little over 10 hours until the mist came, and I had to find a secure place to stay within that time. That was hard to begin with, but as things stood, it was outright impossible. Did I have to run away? What if I just ran away to Yasumisu, said I came from Kami Fujiyoshi like it was no big deal, and asked them to let me live there? Well, they had enough imagination to suspect me. I definitely needed someone from Kami Fujiyoshi to vouch for me, and for that, I had to find something that could turn this around. I looked around the police box. A tidy desk, a rotary phone. This felt like the place of an officer from the mid-20th century. There were wanted posters on the walls. Oh, they'd caught that guy. One of the men even had the look of a criminal. And that one... A serial killer, eh? And it was possible he was lurking in the area, huh? That was pretty freaky. Finally, I heard some noise. The door opened, and the officer returned. They didn't run away. They've got guts. I should have ran. What was that? Huh. He wasn't one to mess around. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong. What's your name? Haruaki Fusaishi. Haru from sun, and Aki from Meiji for Haruaki, and Fusa from Workshop, and Ishi from Stone for Fusaishi. Fusaishi? What a weird name. Best not be a fake kid. Rude. You're from Tokyo. Yes, I am. It was like anyone weird was from Tokyo to them. Some serious stereotyping there. He was right, though. How old are you? 24. Huh? What's your job? I'm a student. College, eh? You've got a good head, but no common sense. I just drove on the road at night. That was so unfair. I wanted to talk back so badly. So why are you here? He lowered his voice a bit. That was the main matter here, and how he treated me would change depending on my answer. What angle did I have to take? Oh. So you got lost, so you followed after your girlfriend? I mean, I guess I don't have to make saves since we can just use the chart. So I'll just go down the order. I imagine if we say you got lost, then he's going to be like, here are directions to get out of here, and then he'll get pissed at us when we're not leaving. I don't know. I went on a bike trip and lost my way. I mean, technically, this is the truth. We did lose our way. I just told him the truth. There was nothing shady about that, and telling him some cheap lies would only make him suspicious. Really? He put on a threatening tone. I really wish he didn't stare at me like that. What did he expect me... What, did he expect me to fall for him? Really, I'd been wandering around the mountains for hours before finding a convenience store. An employee told me about this place. A convenience store? They told you to come here? He hadn't told me to go to Kami Fujiyoshi, but she had told me about Yasumisu. I'd just tell the truth until the end. She told me about a settlement in the mountains that's not even on the map. I kindly refused, and then she told me about here. That's strange. Huh. Is there a settlement like that? Beats me. Oh, you? That was clearly an act. He looked away. Man, this guy was honest. Well, I get it. There's nothing special about you, huh? Yes. I see. Well, you should stop going around at night and disturbing the peace like that. I'd have appreciated an apology for treating me with so much suspicion. I had more important things to talk about. Anyway, would you mind if I spent a night here and... Alright, I'll show you the way to the road. Huh? But I'm so tired. If you can complain, you'll be just fine. My fuel is running low. I'll give you some for my scooter. I don't feel so good. And you should hurry up and go. Is there something going on here? Nope. He wasn't even looking me into my eyes as he said that. I mean, in a way... Am I doing the gumshoe voice? I didn't even notice. I mean, in a way, this guy is actually being considerate. Since he's probably like, oh god, this kid's gonna get involved in the crazy shit if he goes to Yasumisu. Let's just get him as far away from this place as possible. He wasn't even looking into my eyes as he said that. He'd gotten on his scooter and saw me off into the crossroads. Man, what a great guy. I didn't expect him to go this far. Yeah, right. Why the hell did he want me out so badly? Well, at least the rain stopped. This was the only good thing about this. Was this some special time of the year when the presence of outsiders was bad? Was it worth chasing me out, even if it seemed unnatural? That seemed like a decent guess. Even if the mist hadn't shown up for decades now, if the legends were deeply rooted in local culture, there would still be related traditions alive. Or maybe he was sure something bad was gonna happen. Or was he on the side that'd make it happen? Did they have a means to create such a dense mist? Mists happen when the air cooled and the water vapor in the air couldn't stay gaseous. It was basically small water droplets. The mechanism by which they worked could easily be replicated in a lab. They even did it on educational TV. I found it hard to believe they could reproduce a scale vast enough to hide an entire settlement. They'd need some device that'd no doubt be large and heavy. It'd have to be in the Saranaga Rapids of all places. Though I'd only been to Saranaga when I couldn't see anything, either because it was at night or misty. If the mist was made by some huge machine put there by Kame Fujiyoshi people, I'd be really pissed to say the least. Though Takumi-san did say he had to pick up corpses from Saranaga. Even if it was forbidden ground, it wasn't likely they could just install a device like that without anyone noticing. That was how it was in some novel, wasn't it? The corpse was there to begin with, but they just couldn't perceive it. I'd have liked to believe in something a tad more realistic. In the end, I had to keep going forward to the area called Kachihara. Maybe I'd get to rest there. If I returned the next day, the cop would surely snap at me. Would I even go back? The fatigue was getting the better of me. I wonder if maybe if we had said the girlfriend line, that would have made him ask about, where she was, and if we mentioned she was from Yasumisu, then maybe that would have let us pass, because then he'd be like, oh, this one's already fucked, so whatever. Just get him out of here. I knew it was a good idea to stop, but no, I actually didn't know it. I wasn't able to think straight. Here we go. Yep. Mist? Now? Was it artificial? No, that didn't make sense. My mind was hazy, and I could no longer make sense of anything. Off we go! Oh, but at least we got a key from this. Awesome. Nice officer. Alright, let's just go straight to... Oh. Why are you here? He lowered his voice a bit. That was the main matter here, and how he treated me would change depending on my answer. What angle did I have to take? Say you followed after your girlfriend. I had an idea. He's gonna give a sob story. Well, okay, my voice is starting to give out, so I think I will go ahead and end it right here. Thank you all so very much for coming on by. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. EST here, it will be Tales of Fantasia with Kuru. Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on Nanathodi's channel, it will be Resident Evil 7. Thursday at 9 p.m. EST over on the Discord server, it will be the Star Trek Watch Along. Let me see. I forget. Did I set up? No. I'll get that set up soon. Then Friday on Twitch at 6 p.m. EST will be Final Fantasy V. Saturday at 9 p.m. it will be Anwarfs. Then Sunday at 8 p.m. it will be Women of Zal. And then we'll be back here at Monday again at 8 p.m. EST with more Raging Loop. Hope you all have a wonderful time zone wherever you are, and as always, please do take care of yourselves and each other. Toodaloo!